From the Clients tab, you'll want to click into the client file. Under the Deductions category, we will then click on Screen 25 for Itemized Deductions. One thing to note is that even if inputs are entered on this screen, it will only generate the Schedule A and take itemized deductions on the return if they exceed the tax benefit of standard deduction. Therefore, it doesn't hurt to fill in the screen to see if it adds a tax benefit or not. The program will store the information, but it will not go with the return if the Schedule A is not generated. Let's review some of the navigation on this screen. On the top left, you can click on a section title and it will jump to that section. Starting with the first section for general information, you have some overrides that can be used. A common troubleshooting tool is to enter a 1 in the first two boxes for 1 equals must itemize and 1 equals force Schedule A to print, so you can view your Schedule A calculation. This can be used if you're not sure why standard deduction is still higher. You can force it to view the calculation on your Schedule A to see why not. Just be sure to remove the overrides afterwards if done for testing purposes. Under the medical section, there are inputs for prescription medicines and drugs, doctors, dentists, and nurses, as well as hospitals and nursing homes. One thing to note is that the full description of the line may not be included as to what could be inputted there. However, in the bottom left, you can click on the Help tab. This will launch the Help pane, which will give you more information on an input field. For example, for hospitals and nursing homes, it gives in the description that you can also enter clinic costs, X-ray and laboratory services, and other related costs in this field. I will scroll down and click on Other Medical. Here it indicates it can be used to input eyeglass expenses, hearing aids, braces, crutches, and wheelchairs, but to include a description if entered in Other. I will click the icon to the right of the input box for expanded input options. Here I will get a pop-up box where I can enter a description, amount, and source it to taxpayer or spouse. I will enter my information. In the bottom left, you have a calculator and a button to insert or add a new line or delete a line if you have multiple entries entered under this Other section. I will click OK to save my data. We will now click the Hide button to lower the Help pane. Next, let's look at the Taxes section. The Lacerte program will optimize for the optimal tax benefit between income tax or sales tax, since the IRS allows you to itemize one or the other. However, at the top of the screen, you can override this by forcing the one you want or leave it blank to let the program optimize it for you. From there, you can enter your income taxes or sales and use taxes. Next, let's look at the Interest section. A common input field is for home mortgage interest and points on Form 1098. Under this section, the top portion will cover mortgage-related interest and premiums and investment interest. In the next section, we have cash contributions. Here there are categories for 50% limitation and 30% limitation. If not certain which one to use, you'll want to reference IRS Publication 526, which will define what types of contributions are subject to 50% limitations or 30% limitations. You will want to enter the full amount of the contribution made, and the program will then calculate and apply any limitation rules to calculate what is allowed. Next is the non-cash contributions section. At the top of this section, it states to use Screen 26 for total non-cash contributions over $500. Next, we have the contribution carryover section. This will have inputs based on the carryover that are limited on a 50%, 30%, and 20% limitation. In the next section, we have miscellaneous deductions that are subject to the 2% AGI limitation. A common input field here is unreimbursed employee expenses. However, as indicated on the line, it states to not use this field if you already inputted the data on Screen 30 instead. Another common input field will be tax preparation fees. Here you can enter the amount paid by the client for you to do their return as an itemized deduction. The last box in this section is for other miscellaneous deductions, 2% AGI. Let's view the Help pane for this one. It indicates some examples this could be used for are safety equipment, tools, protective clothing required for your job, and subscriptions to professional journals. We can click Hide to lower the Help pane. The next section is Other Miscellaneous Deductions. The first field is gambling losses to the extent of winnings. One thing to note is the O to the right of this field indicates it is an override. This means it will override the program's automatic calculation of this amount flowing to your Schedule A. To get the program to calculate the gambling losses to the extent of winnings, it is recommended to instead use Screen 13.2. Although on another screen number, inputs on that screen will then flow to your Schedule A. The last section is for excess mortgage interest. Here the program has detailed input options if you want it to calculate the amounts for you. However, there is a note at the top that states mortgage-related deductions entered below should not be entered elsewhere. So if your amounts were entered in other fields, You will not want to enter the amounts again here or it will duplicate the amounts.